excellent contribution and performance and sharing knowledge in the corporate world. Inside Business Africa organized IBCA Opal Business Leaders Award ceremony recorded unprecedented success. Mazi Sam Ohabua, MON OFR, speaks on adapting to change. We have a report. Engineer Dominic Okafo, Managing Director, Chief Executive of Jukaru Nigeria Limited, is 50. While celebrating this milestone, he speaks with Inside Business Africa on the achievement and integrity as key drivers of business. This is Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Hello and thanks for joining us. This is Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. My name is Kenneth Odushola Stevenson, and like you may have heard on the highlight, we'll be talking about that particular event that took place in Lagos recently, Inside Business Commendation Award and Outstanding Project and Leaders Award, where several organizations, including Stallion Group, an organization that has put in over 60 years into the Nigerian corporate world, was also celebrated and rewarded. Mazi Sam Ohabua presented an outstanding paper at that event. You want to stay tuned for that. But before all that, let's take some messages. We'll come back with the details. Welcome back. It's still Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Thanks for staying with us. Indeed, the Inside Business Commendation Award and Outstanding Project and Leaders Award may have come and gone, but the content of that particular event is still generating a lot of debate, especially the topic, adapting to change, people, process. In fact, it's a Harvard Business School kind of paper, and every single corporate Nigerian should have a copy of that document. Let's present that particular event, and in this special report, you get to also see some of the corporate Nigerians that were rewarded for their outstanding contribution to the development and the economy of Nigeria.
The 2017 edition of the prestigious Inside Business Commendation and Outstanding Projects and Leaders Award, held recently in Lagos with the theme Adapting to Change, Reflecting on People, Process and Technology, had Mazi Sam Ohabua, OFR, MFR as guest speaker. Speaking against the backdrop of the theme, Mazi Sam Ohabua emphasized the need for organizations to see beyond the challenges of today and innovate to stay competitive.
Times change, people change, situations change, relationships change. The only thing that is constant is what? Change. Change is constant. Thus, change is inevitable and is the only thing that is constant. Now, we all have experienced change in our lives, in our businesses, in our careers, and that change is ongoing and continues to happen. There are what we call change drivers. What are the things that are driving change in our environment, in our businesses, in our work? First is what I call the natural cyclical occurrences as above. You know, the cyclical occurrences, time to laugh, time to cry, the day, the night, the moon, the sun. Those are natural occurring cyclical occurrences which are predictable.
Well, we want to say a very big thank you and congratulations to all the awardees at that particular event. And most importantly, we want to say a very big thank you to Mazi Sam Ohabua. We will still be serializing that particular paper on Inside Business Africa. Indeed, the content of that particular presentation is very important indeed. And if you need a copy of it, just get in touch with us. We'll be able to send a copy. We have his permission to share this particular paper with the with Nigerians, especially people in the corporate world. because it is very, very important indeed. When we come back right after this commercial break, we'll talk about this personality that is celebrating 50, and indeed he spoke with Inside Business on the issue of integrity in business. Stay with Inside Business. We'll be right back right after this commercial break. Welcome back. It's still Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Thanks for staying with us. Engineer Dominic Okafor is the Managing Director and Chief Executive of Jokaro Nigeria Limited, an organization operating in the corporate Nigeria and indeed operating in the areas of engineering, procurement and construction, and also the supply and management and maintenance of generators and many other products relating to engineering. And indeed himself is engineer, and that's no wonder. Recently, engineers know how to do it well. He recently celebrated his 50th birthday in Port Harcourt, and indeed Inside Business Africa decided to bring him forward to speak to us on the company's offerings and many more, especially on the issue of integrity. Let me bring in Engineer Okafor to Inside Business Africa to tell us some of this particular milestone and the event that has heralded him into celebrating 50 years. Engineer Okafor, thank you very much for joining us on Inside Business Africa.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Let me go straight to my first question and ask you, 50, that's the golden age. How do you feel about this? And also, if you want to also talk about the journey so far in coming into 50, into becoming 50, and also tell us about your organization, Jokaro Nigeria Limited, and its offerings.
Well, I feel very happy. I feel very grateful to God for giving me this opportunity, because I was reading somewhere and they said the life expectancy for men in Nigeria is about 47 or so. So having got into this, I thank God.
Well, I know you are an engineer, so if I'm going to be asking you that, you know, what actually attracted you to this industry, maybe it will be an understatement. But indeed, so many people are engineers, you know, pharmacists, they found themselves in banking and all of that. What actually attracted you to the area of business that you're doing now? Is it because you're an engineer, or is it because you believe that that is where your calling is?
Will I really be? Well, I can't really say it by chance. I can't say it by chance, because I was already in the industry, but I wasn't feeling well challenged. I think the job I was doing in John Hood wasn't really challenging me enough. I felt I needed to, you know, I needed to be more active. I needed to get involved in, you know. So after like 7 years then in John Hood, I knew, of course, I knew I had a bright future, but I felt I would be able to, you know, utilize my skills and, you know, more if I run my own organization.
Well, let's look at your professional career as an engineer, and also looking back at your life and time and what you are putting into life. Really, are you truly satisfied with what you've done so far, especially from the corporate world and your personal life? Indeed, I mean, we used to say, yes, celebrating 50 is you know, is an achievement, but then will you say totally you're happy? And if you want to do some things differently at 50 now, and you need to change a few things, are there something you may need to change to do differently?
Well, it's been interesting. It's been interesting because I didn't go into engineering because by accident. It is a profession I had always liked. I'll tell you honestly, while I was in secondary school, people were already calling me engineer, because, you know, it has always been a career that I wanted to, you know, go into. I said right from time, of course, I was very good in mathematics and sciences. I was quite good, and I used to look up to a lot of engineers then, and it made me to practice it, because going into the practice is also another interesting Some people will say, oh, it's a dirty. I give you an instance. When I was in Warri, this girlfriend of my friend came to visit me in Warri, and he saw me in my coveralls. We were carrying out the overhauling of an engine. Of course, I was with my technicians. When he came into my office, he said, oh, Dom, this is what you went to Suka to read. That was...
I'm going to talk about the issue of integrity, because one of the things that's lacking in the corporate world mostly is integrity. But we know from our point of view here on Inside Business that integrity is one of the key drivers of business, because where you leave your reputation is also very important. Therefore, how do you ascribe first of all, define integrity as you may want to know it, and how do you ascribe that to doing the business that you are doing, and how do you think integrity is so important, and why do you think it's so important in the corporate world, and especially when you are running an enterprise like Jokaro Nigeria Limited, for instance?
Well, of course, there's a book that I read. He said in business, integrity is all you've got. Of course, integrity is very important. It's the indispensable part of the business. You see, I'm somebody that believes in organic growth. You know one client today, tomorrow you know another one. You see, one of the things that gives me a lot of pleasure is when people, when I get referrals. I give you an instance. More than 10 years ago, shortly after I started, like about 5 years into this my private practice, so to say, then my office was down the road somewhere they call him Dog. A man came, immaculately dressed. He was looking for Dom. I took him to my office. He never told me who introduced him to me or who referred him. Then we could hardly afford generators to display. Most of the time, of course, you pay, we get for you and all that. It was later, when we have done a couple of business, that he told me that his friend, somebody introduced him, to us in London when they went for fast food conference and all that. And
well, I'm going to talk about a very important issue here. For instance, you studied an engineer, you study engineering, and most importantly, maybe you will be influenced by someone, or maybe that's a role model that you have. Let's be on a lighter mood now. Seriously, do you have a role model, or who influenced you? Do you have anyone that you actually look up to and say, look, my friend, this is the way I want to be? Because you see what the friends you keep will also define who you are tomorrow, and that's why actually I'm asking this question.
Well, like you did mention that I'm a Rotarian. Yes, Rotary International is an organization that has influenced my life for good. Like, of course, you know that Rotary International is an international service organization whose main objective is to bring business leaders and community leaders to render services, humanitarian services to the world, and also enhance international peace and understanding. Of course, it's not political, it's apolitical, and it's also not religious. It's also very gender friendly. It was founded in 1905 by a young man then, a lawyer called Paul Harris in faraway Chicago in the US. I joined this organization in the year 1996 when, as a young engineer, I went to do business with a company called Geodetic Survey in Warri. Then the financial controller of that company, then, who is now a past district governor of Rotary Club, and who is also the Ovie of Ogara, His Royal Highness Chief Nobu Eshemeto, he saw me and felt I was a material for Rotary, because in Rotary you don't just go and become a member, you have to be invited. Somebody has to see you and say, oh, this guy has a Rotary material, he invites you. So he invited me. I was inducted in the Rotary Club of Efuru then in 1996, and of course, as I got transferred by my employers to Enugu, I joined Rotary Club of Ekulu. When I was brought to Port Harcourt, I joined Rotary Club of Port Harcourt. And let me add that Rotary Club of Port Harcourt is the oldest club in District 9140.
Now, my last question, so to speak, if I have another one, I will ask, but it will be on the issue of your dream for the engineering industry. Yes, currently we are seeing so many, foreign products and foreign personnel dominating the engineering world, and it's unfortunate that this is what is happening right now. And for me, I believe that is not the way it should be. And some of us want to see when homegrown. The federal government recently launched a very important business plan to ensure we think Nigeria and do Nigeria. So, what is your dream for the industry? And then in driving into that's your dream. Let's take it straight to the issue of your organization, Jokaro Nigeria Limited. In the next 5 years, where will you want to see Jokaro Nigeria Limited, and what do you want it to be doing at that time?
Well, of course, in the next 5 years, I will want to see a Jokaro that is much more consolidated in terms of our businesses, in terms of, right now we're currently building our corporate head office. Of course, we are going to be in our corporate office is going to be in our own premises, in our own complex. And we're also going to see a Jokaro that has more affiliations to more international reputable companies. Right now we do, but it's going to be such relationship will be more than what we have today. And of course, we are continuously trying to improve ourselves in everything that we do, so that we can actually meet whatever international.
Tying down to your plan in going forward, have you been able to work within the vision of the company, and how have you been able to manage that in relation to what is going on in the market, so to speak?
Well, of course, the dream for this industry, the power, like I tell people, I remember in 2012, my company exhibited in OTC. OTC is Offshore Technology Conference they do every year in Houston. We had a stand there on the Nigerian Pavilion. When then the MD of NNPC, the one that is being put by EFC, when he came to my stand, to our company's stand, when you see a generator, he said, no, we don't want generator. I told him, no. Even overseas, there are still generators. There are still some remote areas where the national grid cannot get to. And moreover, even in the developed world, in Europe and the US, there are always provision for standby generator. Anything can happen to the national grid. There could be, there could be natural disaster or whatever, where the national grid will go off. Maybe somebody is in the theater being operated upon. There should be an emergency generator that can,
Well, Engineer Okafor, I want to thank you very much for actually speaking with us on Inside Business Africa for today and talking about your offerings and celebrating 50 years. And we congratulate you, most importantly, that you have reached this milestone, and we believe that you still have a lot more to contribute to the engineering sector, corporate Nigeria, and indeed Nigeria in general. Congratulations, and thank you again indeed for spending your time with us on Inside Business Africa.
Thank you so much.
When we come back right after this commercial, stay with Inside Business. We'll be right back.
How would you like your construction and engineering industry news and information? Broad, complex and difficult to read, or sharp, ready to read and explore? Presenting Construction and Engineering Digest Magazine CED, refreshing clarity in construction and engineering industry news and information. Construction and Engineering Digest Magazine CED, incorporating oil and gas report with news and information that work for you.
Basically, we officially kick off when we got registered. That was November 12th. That's when we started. So we will be celebrating our 10 years anniversary by November 12th this year. So we'll be 10 years this year. Not really by chance. From my growing right from childhood, I've always wanted to contribute my own quota to the betterment of the world. And being a science student, I wanted to study surgery, medicine and surgery, but because of the situation, I'm in a financial constraint, I couldn't actualize that dream. But the love for health never left me. My name is Robert Onimechozo. So my initial Robert, I have to team up with my son name Ozo, and that is where we got the name Ruzu. Yes, sir. The uniqueness of Ruzu is the fact that from day one we are genuine. From day one we want to give to the society what actually belongs to society, which is nature. You know, because men are organic in nature. So what we need is also organic substances that can help us to live healthy or to live a healthy life. So Ruzu formulation is 100% natural. I think one of the challenges that we face in Nigeria is brand and packaging. The way we package our products. You know, so quality products also need packaging. And you see most companies or most herbal practitioners in Nigeria doesn't pay attention to this. But if you look at the way Ruzu is packaged, you can see it is fantastic, it's unique. And what the edge that this Chinese company have over us is the way they package their products. We have succeeded in not only selling Ruzu to Nigerians. Ruzu is today is sold in US, in South Africa. You can as well find the Ruzu in UK. So what am I saying? We export Ruzu today. And I know that most time this has been the challenge of the orthodox drug or the medical doctors. That how can you claim that one product can cure 1, 2, 3 or 4 ailments or sicknesses? And the truth is the fact that in medicinal plants you cannot comprehend the mysteries beneath them. For good example, the plant called mistletoe is a parasite, and this mistletoe from time immemorial have been used to take off so many illnesses, you know, so many bioactive activities in plants, because that is why these plants are working. Nothing less. It's because of the way God made them that made them to work in that direction. Yes. So we need to understand this, and truly that is the fact. Right now we just got NAFDAC for our Ruzu herbal tea. We also have NAFDAC for Ruzu herbal capsule for those who find it difficult to drink products that are bitters. They can now use our Ruzu herbal capsule. I also produce a tea that is fantastic, is unique, that also the effect can be seen also within 24 hours. Yes, so they should watch out for the Ruzu herbal tea and the Ruzu herbal capsule. Hopefully from the first week of May it will be on sale. Few medicinal plants combined together can easily remedy any kind of infertility cases, be it fibroid or a man complain about low sperm count, or we are talking about a woman talking about hormonal imbalance or endometriosis. Herbal medicine are very, very effective in the treatment of all this. So because of that, we want to tell Nigerians that we are not after the money. We want to bring smile. We want to bring hope to you and your family. In the course of doing this, we make money. Of course, everybody needs money, but in the course of treating you and you getting results, we make our money. And that is where the integrity comes in. So we don't want We want to keep name. We want to make a mark. We want to bring in reputation. We want to bring integrity, as you said. So in the course of doing this, these are all what are in the back of our mind. I'm happy because people are beginning to recognize that we are doing the right thing, and in as much as we keep doing the right thing, we keep getting the right results. So we have a blueprint from the onset. We understand the environment. We know exactly what we want to do from the one, and we are following our principle governing the establishment of the company, and that has actually given us all the benefits and the award that we have received to date. A situation where Nigerian and government will begin to appreciate how far herbal medicine can contribute to Nigeria economy. That Nigeria GDP can grow effectively if government will direct her attention to medicinal plants. It's a big industry, a very, very big industry, to the extent that we have them. If you are traveling to the east, to the south, to the west, to the north, you will see wasted lands.
I feel so excited. I feel so happy. I feel blessed. I give all the glory to God, because it's not by our making, it's the making of the Lord. The journey started with my father, late Babashola Benson, a rare gentleman. He was really passionate about his business. He started 36 years ago. So upon his passing was when I took over. We have actually moved from, when they say growth, instant cleaners is the true definition of growth. Because when a baby is born, a baby doesn't crawl immediately. There are stages it takes. That's what has happened to instant cleaners. We started from a small place, we moved to another place, and finally we're in a place of rest. Yes, when my father started it, and he was always bringing us here. We thought it was punishment he was giving to us. He was bringing us here to see how things were to be done. And I thank God today that we actually listened. We saw the way things was being done. I would say I wasn't born with a silver spoon, but today I can say instant cleaners is a silver spoon.
Well, that's about all we have time for on Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. But before I go, I'd like to remind you that Inside Business Africa, in partnership with CED Magazine, is putting together a very important report on the environment, connecting with nature. On June the 5th of 2017 will be the World Environment Day. We'll be broadcasting a very important edition on that day. And we're talking to operators and also professionals to share ideas and opportunities. It's been Kenneth Odushola Stevenson presenting Inside Business Africa. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.